Before we go back to the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, so I want to see the difference about the Rebbe over here. So we're learning from Shin Yud Ches, Sif Yud Zayin. Okay? We'll see how far we get over here. But we're starting over here.
Yud Zayin.
Yud Zayin.
Ja. Wie Meister Moshe, at the Zont steht auf dem Feier.
No.
Ganze Nacht. Und zu decken, Schabes.
Zudecken mit was?
Mit der Schmatte,
Das ist eine Schmatte.
Das ist auch besser alt, das ist schon gekocht.
Just a Schmatte kann man zudecken.
Huh?
Yeah, but not to wrap it.
Ja.
Not to just zudecken.
Zu
Von
decken.
oben. Yeah.
Das ist kein Problem.
No.
Nicht zuwickeln.
Nein, nicht.
Einwickeln, Tom.
Nein,
Offen das ist ja.
Okay, he says over here, see some interesting dinim here. First, he explains about Kleirishin. Remember, again, that Kleirishin means the pot that's standing on the fire. Klisheni means the dish in which you put the food from there. And the ladle that you put into the pot, I said yesterday, has a din of a Kleirishin. And when you're pouring, so that you're pouring is called Iru Kleirishin. So, the mashal, if you're pouring the ladle, and you have in the plate, you have some dry stuff over it, that's a problem. Because Iru Kleirishin, state is mavashal kedei klipa. In other words, when you want something to be cooked, so you want the whole thing cooked, duch and duch. But the klipa means that it doesn't get through all the way, just on the surface, on the surface. So let's see over here. Is what we're going to talk about over here is salt, and l'chayre is the same thing as sugar. He doesn't mention sugar over here. He talks about salt, and also called tavun, the spices. And there's differences in dinam. Then we'll see what the Alter Rebbe says in the Siddur about these things. So let's start over here. Kleirishin, afilu la'acher, sheviro me'al ha'ar, mevashal. Kol zman shehayad segad izbay. That it doesn't mean that the Kleirishin stay on the fire. The Kleirishin means the pot that stood on the fire. And it still has the effect in it. The ficha, therefore, also read them with toichai tavlin. If someone wants to, people go over and they want to taste the chon, oh, it's not good. Got to add some pepper to it, or something else. So you're not allowed to put pepper into the pot because that's you're putting into a kleirishin. V'toiv l'mnoya migosis tavlin, the kleirishin, afilu ein hayat sagad boy. Even, let's say it cooled off already a little bit, but it still has the idea of a kleirishin. Kedei says, why is this? If it cooled off already, why not? He says, Kedei says, ha'chaka v'siyag l'davar. In order the people should be distant, that they shouldn't get used to.
You should know that a Kleirishin is a Kleirishin.
That's all. Ava melech, mutter ritain b'toichai, ben she'virei me'al ha'esh,
Kivin
she'virei me'al ha'esh. She'hamelech tzara bishul rav, salt needs a lot of cooking. Kamei basar shar, like the meat from a large animal, needs a lot of cooking. Ve'enim is vashal ela al ha'esh, and you need a mamish, the pot to be on the fire in order for it to cook. When we call makom basar shar, also eaten v'kleirishin. Sha'av sha'abasa einem is bashal, Nikomok Mahluchus she'ola mizbashal. He says meat has liquid in it also. So for the meat to become cooked is one thing, but there's from the heat comes out liquid, and that liquid gets cooked.
He mentions that because he compared the salt to the meat.
Right.
So you think the salt is good, the meat is
by
good.
Salt, there's no liquid coming
So
out.
there's only salt. Right.
Ella imkain shu yavish. Not unless the meat is very dry. She'ena lechul is kal.
That's
So
also possible.
over here he's comparing salt to a meat that needs a lot of cooking. He says, "V'yesh shayim," some say, "Shehamelach ain't sort of bishul el miyat," and b'meila v'osa litin af b'klisheni. You can't put it even in klisheni. Kol zman shayat segadisbay. V'hamachma tov ola bracha. So in other words, according to this here, if someone is served a very hot soup and he wants to add salt to it, you can't add salt. You have to wait till the soup cools off. According to that, it depends on these two opinions over here.
That's
One
all
opinion,
included.
huh?
All included.
Even in Klisheni. Even in Klisheni, it's not us. He says that Tov L'Hachmei and
After Krishani, Kozman Shayat Segadis. V'hamachma tava bracha.
so I once saw they do
Hold
it.
on. Let's just finish this. V'im over v'nasan melech, afilu b'klidishin, afilu hu ala eish, she'osa isa, from deswegen hamaychel mutter. Ufi shamelech bottle neged hamaychel, and v'yesh chok and reimen ad mitzvah Shabbos. That is mamish cooking, and cooking is also ad mitzvah Shabbos, or b'tei shiyasa. That's okay. So you have two opinions about salt. Now let's look further. Now he says, "V'chol zeh b'melech she'einu mavushel." There's two kinds of salt. There's salt that they used to take like a rock, and they used to grind it, and it became salt. And the salt that came from the water. Salt that came from the water had to cook it to evaporate the water that's in it, and then they got out the sugar. I mean, I don't know exactly how they do it, but something like that. So he says, "V'chol zeh b'melech she'einu mavushel." Av melech shalonu, our salt, shemisaknen oisei aridei bishul, they make it good through bishul, b'mayim, in water. Mutter litnoi b'chayrishin, you can put it even in the chayrishin. V'divrei hak, according to everyone. Why? She'ein bishul acha bishul b'davar lavish. He's going now that salt is a davar yavish, right? Salt is dry, it's not wet.
Even though it's going to become wet.
So that's what's going now with this approach. The koshkein, even if it melts, ayidei bishul zeh hasheni, for desert it doesn't matter. We consider it a double yavish. Commercial is balu malu. When we come hamachma boy kamay ushamela tavel bracha. Okay, so you have a lot of different opinions about salt. So according to one opinion that we have now, that you could put salt even into klidishin. Okay, now he goes.
Would that be cleavish and ala esh also? It's no different.
Why not?
What is that's
Yeah. Now let's go over here to the next. The next it talks about tavlin. Tavlin is spices. You'll see spices is a different din. Okay, so he says as follows. Also eaten tavlin, the kaida, v'lares aleya miklidishin, shayad seledesbay. In other words, what I explained before, if you have a plate, and in the plate there are spices, and you want to take, let's say, hot soup, and pour it on top of the spices, you're not allowed to do that. Why? Because that's called idu, as I explained. That's called idu klidishin, and that cooks the spices. But you have to realize something. When we talk about salt, so the salt is a thing that was cooked already. Spices are not cooked. How do you make spices? You dry the thing. Let's say there's like the pepper that is very sharp. You know how do they make it? They plant the pepper. They plant these peppers, and then they dry it. After they dry it, it becomes hard like a rock, and then they grind it. And that's the spot. There's no cooking involved. So he says, also eaten tavon b'kaida, v'lares aleim mikledishin shayad seledisbet, mipnei she'iru mikledishin mevasha kadei klipa. Okay, what we explained before. V'im ira azai haklipa oiseh mipnei shenizbashal b'Shabbos. Avol in ira tchila me'akledishin l'techa kaida. In other words, let's say he first filled in the soup, and then is less mutter lit and achakach tavlen l'kaida. The neisha hein kli sheni ein by kayach levashon. Hafilu lamachmidim the kli sheni the Indian isra heta. By isra heta, if you mix up flesh with milk, so even if it's a klisheni, there's some that hold that it's a shayva. So from that vegan, shesayvim sheyesh b'kayach lehavliya ulehaflit. It still has a kayach to absorb and to eject and to give out. Kozman shayatzeredes mikol makom ein b'kayach levashon. It can't cook. So when it comes to meat and milk, so either even it's a klisheni, but one absorbed the other, because it could absorb. Or let's say the meat gave out let's say it could be told in the shaila of tatoi gava eloi gava. If the meat is on top or the milk is on top, so was it the meat that went into the milk or the milk that went into the meat? But we found that it's a klisheni, so it still could do that. It still could absorb. That cooks. Kozman shayatzelez. Lefisha kleirishan. Miter sha'aymed eitzel ha'esh or al ha'er. Dafne se'achamin. U mechazek chumot. It contains the heat. Haber. Lekach nosnu b'shir kozman shayatzelez b'in. Mashenke b'klisheni she'ein dafne se'achamim. V'haylech u'meskara is mekel. What do we got from here? What we got from here, that there's a difference between melech and tavon. Before, he brought different opinions about melech, if you could put it in a kleirishin, or that you shouldn't, but you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't put it in a kleirishin. And according to some opinions, you could put it in the kleirishin. And according to some opinions, you can't even put it into klisheni. Why is some makel by it?
Because it was cooked before.
Being that it was cooked before, so it's about the shab ain't bishak. Some are, however, a machmir. He doesn't talk about this over here, but he says over here that you're allowed to put it in, and we don't care that it becomes a double lach. He said over here before. A filu who nimach al bishul, that doesn't matter, right? This is the Alter Rebbe Shita in the Shulchan Aruch. Now, let's go to the Siddur. Take any chitas, okay? Every chitas has it. In the chitas, I showed you where it is.
Yeah, I can't see it.
There's another one over there where you're sitting before. Any chitas.
What page is it on?
He has, in this Siddur, it's page 434.
No, that's not in there.
It's in there. Look at the end before the Tillim. Before the Tillim. I don't know if he has the Parshias over there.
Yeah, I got it here. Oh, yeah, right before the Tillim, right.
Okay. So look over here on the bottom of this in 434.
Yeah.
It's called Hilchos Rapsa L'Shapsa. And look, the last piece.
Where?
where he starts Alpha P. Okay?
Alpha B'Shem
He
Bishul.
says as a Alpha P Shem Bishul Acha Bishul B'Davar Yovish Mikol Makom Im Chayzer V'Nimcha Mimenu Kitzas. If it begins to leak, so to say, begins to melt, the davar begins to melt. Yesh bar mishum bishul acha bishul v'lachluchas hatamchu im hayad segadas bay. He's saying that if the thing has become very hot, so it'll similar to what he said in the Shulchan Aruch when he talked about. In the beginning, he wanted to compare the salt with the meat from the ox. The young lady said, no, you can't compare. Why? Because by the ox there comes out liquid. Then we've had a different shot. Now he says, v'lachin therefore, tzarich lizor b'moed. You have to be very careful. Shaloi lahachem basa oifes tzuliyim oivim v'shalom im yischam ha'moyel ha'nimcha mihem ad sha'ayat tzaradas bay. You know, sometimes you have a cold piece of meat. So could you warm the piece of meat? Right. Yeah, if you're going to put it on the blech, let's say, and it could come to Yatsa Ledas by the liquid that will come out of it, you can't do it. Okay, let's go further. This isn't the whole thing yet. Mishum is the skila, v'kares chas v'shom. V'chaim, shrei iglish baich, mikrei rishen, shayatsa Ledas by al tzukah. You shouldn't pour, let's say you have a chainik, a kettle, and you shouldn't
put the sugar cubes in the cup.
And then you're going to pour on top of it. Why? Being that the tzuk is going to melt, yesh by mishum bishul, even though it was cooked.
This is before.
Lachin therefore, ein lahakol b'melech. You see, he talks about sugar and together. They're both the same thing. Ein lahakol b'melech sholanu. Afshin is bashal tchila. Ma'achar shechayzer v'nimcha. Being that it turns into liquid. Ein lahakol b'yoyser mi b'melech shavimayim.
Because both milk.
Michul gadesh yeshayim afilu litem b'kli sheni shayat segadas by. You shouldn't. V'hamach mataveh bracha. So over here, he takes a different approach than in the Shulchan Aruch. In the Shulchan Aruch, he said that it's a double yavish, and it's nimcha, it's going to melt. We're not bothered by that. That's I said you could salt the food, but now he's saying that while that it's
going to
melt, it has a din of lach. Now, he doesn't talk over here about spices. See? In the Shulchan Aruch, we're going to a din of melech, and we're going to a din of spices.
Different.
Over here, he doesn't talk. Spices, you have to understand that there's a difference between spices and melech. What's the difference between spices and melech? You'll notice an interesting thing. If you take, take pepper, let's say, okay? You have ground pepper. So when you pour in the ground pepper, at the end, when you eat up the food, on the bottom you see black spots. You see black spots? In other words, it's not totally nimcha. All that happens by spices is you're extracting a certain taste that the spice has in it.
By all spices or just by pepper? I know by pepper that's a fact.
I'm giving you this example. I don't know. I'm saying a spot. I don't know about all spices. I'm giving you an example. All spices means if they make a powder out of it, or they make very little pieces. I don't know.
Granulated powder.
But sugar, if you put sugar into something, it becomes water.
Right.
If you put salt into something, it becomes water. Right. So the salt it goes with the approach that without this nimcha, it becomes rach. Without it becomes rach, so there's a din of bishul acha bishul. And without the din of bishul acha bishul, therefore, being that it's hot, it could melt it. Like it's like I said before, the difference between other din basa b'cholov it could melt it. It has a din of rach. Spices does not have a din of rach. It's a davar yovish, and by davar yovish, there's no bishul or a bishul, but there is a bishul by davar yovish. Bishul achar bishul there isn't. That's why with spices we make them, and spices you could put into the kli sheni without any problem. He doesn't bring any opinion different. And over here in the city doesn't bring any opinion different. And by sugar or salt, which in Shulchan Aruch he only talks about salt. But over here you see that sugar and salt is the same thing because he talks about both of them together.
So if he adds a lettuce, even as kli
over here,
sheni,
it was got the kli sheni is also a shayla.
How do you make your coffee with sugar?
Huh?
Or how do you make your tea with sugar?
the easiest way to do it is you take it, pour your first cup, take that to kli sheni, put it to kli shlishi, then you have no problem.
Please, there's no problem. Even Yasser
Right.
That's how you do it. That's the best way to do
That's
it.
the easiest way to do it.
That's what we were taught to do it as children. Do it that way.
Yeah, I do it.
Now, you put it into one cup, then put it the second. People call that the kli sheni because they don't make the cheshbon. Because what's happening is when you go to an urn, right? You take it from the urn, so they think that first cup is kli rishon. Really, it's a kli sheni.
Right.
But they make the cheshbon. That's a kli rishon, and they put it into the kli sheni. But really, it's a kli shlishi already.
Right.
And that's already good.
Well, let me ask you, is such a thing as eating cliche? There's no such thing.
No. Only eat a
So you can
kudisha.
really put the sugar
Only
first
eat
down for
only eat a kudisha is a vashal.
He says Iroi Kli in the same Siman in the beginning. He says Iroi Kli Sheni is nothing.
Oh yeah, so you want to know that? You could, yeah, that's true. If
You
you
put the sugar in first also.
and the
in
coffee
KCC.
into kli shlishi,
And the
right, yeah.
The reason he doesn't bring a tablet because these 5 things in the Hilchos Arabs
I didn't hear what you said.
the reason he doesn't bring about tabling
Yeah.
because in these 5 siping in Siddur, it's for the regular person who comes across these things all the time. So he brought the things that's good. That is
Not a
common
chef.
all the
But
time.
I'm saying, but in the Shulchan Aruch, you see that he brings both things,
Yeah.
and in the Shulchan Aruch, tavlin is easier.
Yeah.
Okay, and over here he doesn't bring it. So
He doesn't because it's
so,
hard.
so the tavlin remains the way it says in the Shulchan Aruch.
Yeah.
So-
This also, he says, Lefi Chiluk Hadei Shel Shulchan Aruch.
Right.
He doesn't allow the melach, even though it was
Because
cooked.
by the Melech,
it's cheshesh
by the
to
Melech,
both
he
days.
brought different days. He brought 2 days by Gabi Melech.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I said, but concerning us, sugar or salt, you're more machmer than tavlin.
Sugar is also cooked already
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Our sugar is cooked.
because he doesn't mention.
Okay,
over
one
here.
more.
He doesn't mention
One
about the
second.
sugar.
There are 2 types of sugars. Okay, let me explain some.
He doesn't mention that it's
Okay.
already mevushel.
There's-
That was
There's
all
sugar.
melach.
There's sugar that's called cane sugar.
Yeah.
They sell it in the from Cuba or where
Yeah,
it comes.
and the stalks.
So over there, that stuff is just ground. It's hardened and it gets ground. The sugar that you buy, Domino sugar or something, goes through a whole cooking process. It's from water, where they have to extract the water from it.
But here he didn't even bring it.
Okay, just okay.
So the maisi bepeil,
Best thing,
we don't put salt in the soup.
if it's not,
If it's very
yeah,
hot,
it's-
If
if
it's
it's very hot,
so
you shouldn't do it.
So I saw once